I wanted to welcome everybody to the Town of Webb February regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. March, excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The March meeting, where Nancy wrote February, sorry, I read everything.
That was a test.
Thank everyone for coming very much. Please sign in the attendance sheet and turn off your cell phones. The next regular meeting will be on April 11th at 7 p.m. April audit of claims meeting will be held on the first Monday, April 3rd at 5:30. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. We have some correspondence. Old Forge Little League is asking permission to build a small storage shed at the North Street Field for the youth baseball program. This will be entirely funded by the Old Forge Little League through fundraising. The Little League will comply with the building codes prescribed by sheds by the Town of Webb Codes Office for size, specification, and location approval. Is that something that we can get a nod on? Is everybody all right with that?
There's a shed over there that they used to put their stuff in.
That was a shared shed though, that Chuck was letting them use some of the space, I think. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think it's,
This would be
my
a real
understanding
shed.
is they need something dedicated.
I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, as long as they work with, go ahead, Mark.
I know that Holly had asked about building a shed for ASO, and we told them that they could not build something, that they could put something temporarily in there, so they have a Rubbermaid style shed. So if now baseball needs something, ASO still probably would like something more permanent, and will there be other needs? So perhaps we should be looking at more than just a shed for baseball. So I don't know that I'm in favor of moving forward with this immediately. I would rather investigate what other needs might arise and see if we need some kind of actual storage for sport.
Well, I think that they probably have a month here or so, or, I mean, I can't really, with all the snow, so maybe we should just find out, ask the question of maybe could be a shared thing going on here that might benefit both
Sure.
organizations, and find a place with Chuck that,
I was gonna say, you gotta
Works.
find a spot for it. That's probably the toughest thing.
so,
Well, and that's not
No,
Andy's
that was the
job,
first time.
that's our job. So we can work on that and find out where would be best placed, and then let Andy know where we want to put it.
Did anybody contact Chuck?
No, we just got the letter.
I didn't even know about this.
It's a letter to you guys.
so I think in theory it should be able to work, it's just a matter of just coordinate it, and maybe there could be a dual benefit here.
Right.
Sounds good. Fulton Chain Antique and Classic Boat Show Rendezvous is asking for the extended overnight parking on the lakefront for out-of-town show participants, docking 3 days prior to the show and 1 day after, July 5th through July 9th. In addition, they are asking the town to waive the event fee at Macaulay Mountain for the night of their dinner. They are a nonprofit organization with a 501c-3 tax status. Each board member received a copy of the email on March 7th. Do you have any comments?
I have no problem waiving the fee or the boat parking thing, because I know that when we decided to have no overnight parking, we did discuss that and said that that would be an exception, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with boat parking. I know that there's been previous discussion as far as Macaulay Mountain goes with waiving the fees, so I don't know where
They
that
don't
sits.
typically do that.
We don't typically waive a fee at Macaulay no matter what it is, from what I understand, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the
Correct.
debate I think before was whether or not, like, ski patrol
Correct.
was part of the town or part of the not, but
Correct. So I'm fine with the boat parking.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should waive the fee for one and not others, so.
Agreed.
I agree.
So we're not waiving it?
Doesn't sound like it.
You know,
Okay.
Need a vote?
I remember
No.
the one time there was a law, or not a law, but there was basically a motion made by the board
Correct.
in the last 3 years that I've been here that was basically stating that.
Okay,
And the
Okay.
debate was over ski patrol, whether ski patrol
Correct.
fell underneath that. And I think ski patrol fell underneath the town because they're part of the organization, the needed organization up at the mountain. So
Right.
they were the only exception, is what I remember.
okay, so we're okay with boat parking?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Tom? Okay, perfect. The board went to bid for play equipment for age group 2 through 12, $18,000 in the budget for the lakefront to replace the pirate ship. All bids were in the hands of the town clerk of the town of Webb, Old Forge, New York, on or before 3 p.m. the 14th day of March 2023. Do we have any bids?
We have one. We have a non-inclusion certificate like we're supposed to. Paperwork. Okay, it is from Bears Playground, bearsplaygrounds.com in Lehman, New York. The bid is for $17,999.60, under the $18,000.
Good job.
It's basically a locust tower, rock wall climber, a slide, swing set, a couple swing sets, a bucket seat. I don't know if he sends pictures or not. So it is under the bid, it's the only one we got. I guess it's this. That's what it looks like.
And so the deal too with this, it's a little more than a swing set, right? There should be a full
Yeah.
swing set.
Yep.
There's
And
a
then
rock
it has
climbing.
the swing that
and a
the
swing.
facing parent swing too that was talked about, mentioned last time when we did the North Street.
Yeah.
So that does include the swing set, the swing that parent and baby can sit face to face. I think it is. right?
Expression swing set, I think
So,
it is.
so that one does have in there. And then it can be, this unit is also my understanding that it can be expanded on really easily. So it's just hopefully the start of getting it going and replace the pirate ship. But there is opportunities if funding becomes available for us to easily expand and adapt. It's a very adaptable, they got like different bridges like that they can connect together and everything like that. So it is a flexible system.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the bid?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second it. Now we gotta get rid of the boat.
Can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Bacon.
Aye.
5 ayes for the playground.
Intermunicipal agreement between Jefferson, Lewis, Hamilton, Herkimer, Oneida, BOCES. Whereas BOCES is a duly constituted Board of Cooperation Educational Services formed pursuant to the provision of Article 40 of the New York State Law Education, and whereas the town of Webb is a municipal corporation formed pursuant to the laws and the Constitution of the State of New York, and whereas New York State General Municipal Law, Article 5-G, authorizes the parties to enter into an intermunicipal corporation agreement to carry out any function or responsibility each has authority to undertake alone. Whereas BOCES, as part of the Administrative Support Services, offers facilitation of drug and alcohol testing of bus drivers and others holding a commercial driver's license pursuant to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Act and assist with maintaining compliance of the Federal Motor Carrier Clearinghouse mandate. And whereas the town of Webb desires to participate in the BOCES program and alcohol testing, and whereas BOCES is willing to accept the town of Webb into its drug and alcohol testing program. Therefore, this agreement shall be for one fiscal year, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and may be renewed in writing for a successive one-year term. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Discussion? This is our drug and alcohol testing for
Right.
CDL drivers.
Yep.
That's all that said.
Just an ongoing thing.
I can't
Barb's
remember.
asking if we had this in the past.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so it's a renewal of sorts.
correct. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green, Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Acting Assessor. Whereas the Webb Town Assessor, Justin Masters, provided the town clerk and town board with his written resignation dated and effective as of March 3rd, 2023. And whereas pursuant to real property tax law, section 314 of the town board may appoint an acting assessor in the event of a vacancy in the office of the assessor. And whereas a vacancy now exists in the office of the assessor, and the town board wishes to appoint an acting assessor. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints Amy Van Wee to be acting assessor for the town of Webb pursuant to real property tax law section 314, and be it further resolved, this appointment shall automatically terminate upon the appointment of a replacement assessor, but in no event shall it exceed a period more than 6 months from the date hereof, and be it further resolved that the acting assessor will be paid $30 per hour for the period of the appointment is effective, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and directs the town supervisor, town clerk, and other appropriate town officials to complete any forms and take any necessary action to effectuate the intent of this resolution, including notifying the Commissioner of the Department of Taxation and Finance of this appointment within 15 days of the resolution. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion, Bonnie.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
So this means that we go looking for a new assessor.
Mhm.
And that starts ASAP.
The ad was already, we went to the New York State Assessors Association and New York State Directors Association, put the ad out and they send it out for us.
Okay,
And it'll
It'll
go
already
all
be-
over.
It'll go all over New York State, an already trained assessor.
right, okay.
Whether you hire one or not, that's,
I know we've done there before, but
yeah.
now we're there again.
And the date, I think, is, May 1st is the date that we're accepting applications through. And if we have to, we can extend it out, but May 1st is the last date to apply.
And if we don't get somebody in that 6 months, what happens then?
You can reappoint
I
Amy.
think you reappoint
We can
Amy.
reappoint.
Any other discussion? Nance, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green, Councilman Ross,
Alright,
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Full-time police officer to appoint Leonard Dillenbach as our full-time police officer with benefits effective February 28th, 2023. This appointment is to replace Michael Yule, who has resigned and gone on to a different position. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Well, thank you, Mike, for
Thank
his
you.
time
Yeah.
Yep.
on our force.
Roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Court audit, the town board acknowledges the required examination of the court audits were conducted for Judge Patrick Manetz and Judge Amber LaFountain on 3/2/2023 and found to be satisfactory. A copy of those reports and resolution has been forwarded to the New York State Unified Court System. Copies have been provided. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Good job.
Good job. Nancy, roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green? Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Flex Tech audit from NYPA. The New York Power Authority will do a comprehensive audit of the building. The end result would be all of the energy saving options that could be accomplished in that building and the associated costs and pathways. The total cost of that audit would be $3,750 and NYSERDA would cover $1,768.18 of that cost, leaving an out-of-pocket cost of $1,981.82. Do I have a motion to allow for a Flex Tech audit, cost out of pocket $1,981.82 from the New York Power Authority?
What building?
It's North Street, sorry.
North Street.
North Street.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Is it Tommy?
Yep. Any discussion?
Go around and gather information on all the spots.
Yep. See where we're.
Thanks to Dan Kiefer. Appreciate it. Just see how efficient and inefficient our buildings are right now.
Right.
And not just the rec center, it's all the town buildings.
Right, aren't they doing multiple buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Is it multiple of them?
The
Just-
actual application, I believe, only
Does North Street.
does
Oh,
his map.
Yeah, it only does North Street.
Can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Structural Services Web Engineering PC. Structural engineering consulting services for various client projects included but not limited to a review and sizing of required structural reinforcements for bathroom remodel in the information center, as well as a limited structural evaluation of the Macaulay Mountain front porch. Recommendations will be provided via red line markups, hand sketches, written summaries. The rate of pay will be an hourly engineer fee of $165 per hour, BIM management fee of $95 an hour. Do I have a motion to hire Web Engineering PC for structural engineering consulting services at a fee of $165 per hour?
What are you thinking about the junk?
I mean, it's basically been deemed that that needs to be upgraded, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and we have to have the plans in place in order to upgrade it, so, yeah. I'll make the motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
Can you tell me where the front porch of Macaulay Mountain is?
It's the deck.
The large deck, yeah.
It's a big deck, okay. Because we did have a study and we had worked on that a few years ago, so is this just a review, basically?
Yes, the insurance company has asked us to review that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay. Used dasher board system. The board has an opportunity to buy a used Crystal Plex Series 6A aluminum prefabricated dasher board system from Fessenden School. The board system is approximately 200 feet long by 80 feet wide with 28-foot radius and corners. Not included are the shipping of the boards, labor to install, cast in place or epoxy anchors, or any modification to the dasher boards. The cost is $40,000. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I will second the motion.
Okay, now let's have some discussion.
Yeah, correct.
I'll just explain a little bit what's going
Yep.
on. And I guess I just pass this around, you can see, just pass it down. We've been looking at other opportunities for bringing in tourism and sustaining people when we don't have maximum snow levels at times in the wintertime. So conversation's been had in the past few months here now about ice skating rinks, putting a chiller system in, having a place that there's at least we can at least count on Klein Mountain having snow, count on having something else going on, so that people can still have multiple points of contact of winter engagement when they come up, regardless of weather. So this hockey board system is a unique find in the sense that it is used. It's normally $250,000 or more when you buy one of these used. I mean, brand new. This school is redoing their gymnasium or their center there. They're putting new boards in that match the color of their team. That's pretty much it. It's an aluminum board system, and it's still in very good condition. So basically, we have this opportunity if we decide to go forwards with it of saving $210,000 of not having to raise that money in the next year or two moving forward. So the boards can be put in place. We would have to get the anchors for it to anchor it down, but it couldn't be put in place without chillers. It can be frozen in, it can be used starting next year, and you can piece this together as the funding comes together. And we do have call into CNY Refrigeration, who does all the refrigeration work and all the rink building for pretty much everybody in Utica, and also they do a bunch of the bigger professional places around the country. They have to be based right down in Clinton or in Utica. They also built the one that's over in Lowville. I don't know if anybody's been over the Lowville one with the Mighty Loons, but same gentleman set that whole system up for them over there. So we're getting quotes on what that would be. It's roughly around $300,000 for chillers and the mat pads and everything without the cement. So it is an endeavor that we'll have to raise money for, but me personally, I think that this is a great opportunity. The boards can be sized down too. It doesn't have to be 200 feet. You can make it as long as you want. You can take a couple out in the middle, make it not as wide. But this is an NHL size rink if we decide to go that way. It's a full size rink. They can be divided in half and do pond hockey on two games at one time going on if they want to do tournament styles. There's many opportunities here for I think positive things for the community and positive things possibly for growth and keeping people here on weekends when things aren't as busy. You can basically, if the chiller system goes in, depending on what size compressor you get, and he's saying that he doesn't think you get as big of a compressor to the air where we live up here. It's not as bad as if you were doing it in like North Carolina or something like that. But basically 50 degrees and under, you can chill the ice. You can make ice from 50 degrees and under. So you could maintain ice from, let's say, early November till as late as you want to go. Until we want to take it down. The ideal goal would be to get eventually a cover over it. They don't actually recommend closing it in. You get humidity problems, you get all sorts of problems. They recommend doing, like maybe one side where the sun would normally be hitting on the ice area. Maybe that's closed off, and then doing an open air pavilion is, just to keep the sunlight off of it and keep the snow off of it and protect it. So it's kind of become a rush thing. The big thing is basically on the 15th, if we don't buy it by the 15th, this particular unit, it's going to another school. So it's just an opportunity came up. I personally think that the cost savings and the fact that we can use it right away, potentially if we set it up right, is worth the savings of us trying to raise another $210,000 to buy a new one, when that could almost pay for the chiller system potentially down the road. So that's kind of where this came from.
Kurt, would that be set up at the old site of the old highway garage?
So that's the other thing too. It's like we haven't really had time to figure out a site plan, but there could be a place. I guess it could go there. I think it's bigger than what that rink. It could go there. Let's put it that way. Yes, it depends on how we scale it down, or possibly.
You wouldn't have a sunlight problem there, that's for sure.
What's that?
You would not have a sunlight problem there.
And it could be a benefit that way. So the site would have to be determined. That there's no official. There's been a lot of talk back and forth as a possible place. It could either go at McCauley, it could go possibly there, or it could go down at North Street. I did talk to ASO about the grass behind the pavilion, and they're fine with going over behind the baseball field. If the kicker board could go over there, so it could possibly go on the grass right behind it. Then you can utilize the bathrooms there. We also are working on the master plan for McCauley Mountain. It could easily go up there on the grass below Max back over there, and it could. Basically, I guess the gist of it is, whatever the best fit place for it can go. More importantly, it's just this time issue has come up, and I personally think we should take advantage of it. That's my take on it. I wish it wasn't as rushed as it is, but that's kind of where we're at.
I know nothing about hockey, but I've been to hockey games and they have a Zamboni comes out. What do you do? What's that?
So we have a Zamboni. The town owns a Zamboni,
Okay.
so
That's-
we would have to have a warming room. That the Zamboni has to be stored in a warming room. The board back when we had North Street built was originally built for it, but I'm not an expert on why it went bad, but I think the insulation wasn't put down underneath the cement so that the ice melts. So there needs to be 4 inches of insulation put below 6 inches of concrete. I have all the specs at home, but it's a very specific thing to keep the heat from the earth coming up and melting the ice from underneath it. So when we do this, we have to make sure. That's why this guy from CNY Refrigeration is an expert in exactly that stuff. He's done plenty of rinks, knows all the problems that we see arise.
And the chillers too make it last longer season too.
Correct. Yep. One of the things is that the
All the way
sun
into April or May, right?
was 50 degrees. Once it goes above 50 degrees, you need a bigger compressor. So now you're talking, it's $1,500 per unit on the compressor. So
Kurt, where's your first choice?
of putting it,
Where's your first choice? The old highway department?
as far as putting the rake up.
Location, yeah.
Oh, honestly, and we haven't really gone through the whole thing, but I think North Street makes the most sense for me right off the top of my head, without really breaking it all down, just because we do already have bathrooms there, we have concession stands there, you have a potential
Warming room.
place for warming for the Zamboni to go. That one room was designed for it, or we could build off the back side of it, but it would go straight in the back, going back towards the parking lot. But again, this is very premature things, but off the top of my head, that seems like a good place for it. But I'm totally open for anything as far as that goes. It's just more of I think that this opportunity is rare. You don't find these used. They are the sole provider of it. There's no one else that has a used. They don't go for sale. So and basically that's where it comes down to. So
I can tell you guys, I seconded the motion, and I probably have all the same questions that you guys have, because this is just the boards. This isn't the coolers, this isn't the, there's a lot more money involved here, and it's gonna cost to run this thing. So there's a lot of questions out there, but I do have to agree with, and as a board, we've been talking about winters like this winter that there's nothing going on, what do we do? Tommy's been bringing up this pavilion for basketball and stuff, and Kurt brought this hockey board thing, and I think this opportunity, the savings of the money, typically I don't like to spend that kind of money that we don't budget for. But I think the opportunity, it's worth a try, in my opinion, to look into this and I mean, worst case, if it doesn't work out, we got some boards that we have to sell.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You know,
Linda's got a question.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. If we don't go forward with this project, it's still a unique opportunity for somebody else to buy this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
We could sell it
For sure.
later.
I don't think you're
problem,
gonna lose
right?
money on the system itself.
Right.
So this piece of it's safe.
Yeah. So it's aluminum. It's literally a torn. If you went and bought a brand new, there's some changes that they made. They're like more spring-loaded stuff, that new technology that's come out. But it's 250 grand plus minimum for this style boards. I mean, that's the full
just for
plexi,
that section of it.
the whole thing. So
Alex, go ahead.
Would the town be in a position to sell ad space on them to maybe come up with the cash to cover it while it sits?
I think that there's a lot of opportunities that we can figure out down the road that
Pickleball tournaments.
that could come out
Hockey
of this.
tournaments.
You know, the other thing too is if we did put down a cement slab, that can be used for pickleball. It could be used for multiple things, possibilities, and if we did have cover over it, it'd be even better. So there's a lot of opportunities that could come out of this down the road if we set it up the right way. It's going to take money. It's not cheap, you know. That's for sure. There's no question of that.
Yes, Robin?
So where will you store it until you're putting it up?
First of all, Kurt, I want to say thank you very much for the rapid fire research that you've done and for explaining as thoroughly as you have and taking the time today to talk to board members also. That's really important for us to have a good understanding. I think it's really important that we have time as a board to discuss location considerations and not plant any seeds tonight that people are going to walk away saying, well, that's where it's going to go, because we don't know. We haven't had those conversations. And I do think that the Macaulay plan, it's important to look at that.
Absolutely.
Wholeheartedly, without just arriving at a location because it's easiest, quickest. This is the purchase is quick. The planning doesn't have to be for the follow-up. So
I agree. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. No, 100%. So I think that's what I was trying to say.
So where are you gonna store it until you're ready to?
So the garage that's up at the old dump site up there, has the capability of storing the boards up there.
Yes, Ron?
My hearing's terrible, but I vote for putting temporarily, till everybody figures out a better idea, a hockey rink on the present skating rink and a figure skating rink on that plateau that's up above it where they have outdoor javelin, stuff like that, right next to the bus garage. And maybe the Zamboni could go someplace in there. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There'll be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, on that part of it, as far as placement.
Great idea.
No.
Kurt, the company that manufactures this board setup, they've been in business for a while?
They have, it's Becker Boards,
Okay.
which is
Just for
they're
parts
also
and
known
pieces,
by,
you know, I mean,
yeah, no, they're also known as Athletica Sports Systems Inc.
okay.
They're basically the majority of the NHL boards that you see out there are made by this company, and they're the actual reseller of it too, the manufacturer. So these people are buying the newest system with a color match for their place, and they must have traded it in or something like that, or had something worked out with them where they could resell it. They're the sole sellers. But honestly, what's happening is if we don't purchase this, they're basically donating it to a sister school in their area, is my understanding.
I mean, it's definitely a good price, so
it's
you're confident all the parts and pieces are there as advertised?
They swear to me that they are. They say that everything is perfect. It was standing March 1st. They took it down, so it was actively being used by them. They took it down. They agreed to store it because this all happened pretty quick, and they gave us until the 15th to come to a decision on it. And honestly, I thought we were going to be able to go out for and have a month period of time, and we just found out basically very recently that that's not the deal. That it's either buy it or don't buy it. So here we are. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Hey Kurt, are they gonna put it on a truck and everything, or how does all
My
that
understanding is
gonna work?
no, so it's 40,000 plus shipping. We have to have it shipped. So originally it was 45. If you look at it online, it's $45,000. I asked them if they would be able to include the shipping with it. They couldn't work it that way for whatever reason, but he said that he'd sell it for $40, and then we pay for the shipping, which should cover the shipping cost of, it's in Massachusetts. So, we'll have to get, I'm sure it'll be $3,000-4,000 to ship over. All of that. So.
Kurt or Bonnie, I think one more important thing that should be brought up is the legality of this purchase without having to go to bid.
Right, yeah, so normally we'd have to go to an RFP, but because this is such a specific unit, and they are the sole provider, there is literally nobody else that can sell this particular unit. It makes it a unique situation that they are a sole provider, that you wouldn't be able to, and they're used the whole thing. This is the only system that's out there, if you look online, that's used of this nature, so it allows us to purchase it.
Okay.
What's the, so you're buying these boards, what else needs to happen to make, do you need to have a concrete slab?
You don't need to have a concrete slab. You can do it right on grass if you want to, or on sand. It just has to have a level surface, fairly level. The more level, the better. You can even you can take the chiller pads and you can lay them down. You can roll them right across on the grass. You put down a plastic sheeting, and you can put the chiller pads right over top of that too, and hook it to a compressor and run it just like that. Many people do it that way. It's more efficient, and you can use the facility more if you have a cement pad down on there, and then you can also bury it in the cement, or you can do it on top, your choice. You do it on top, you have to roll them up every year, and the only downside to that is that you risk wearing them out over time of rolling them, unrolling, and rolling and unrolling them. So that best case scenario would be to bury it in cement, the chiller system down the road, and creating something with that so that it less maintenance, potential problems. The gentleman, if we like the quote, we'd have to bid this out too as far as that part goes. He would come up here and teach us how to run it, teach us how to use a Zamboni, teach us how to make ice. It all comes with it. He's right there. He's very involved, hands-on, and becomes very highly spoken of for this. So, but that part would have to all be worked out down on the backside, and unfortunately just haven't had time to get all the details together. So we'll work a little bit backwards in this case, but I think that the savings is worth it.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great thought for the future. But if I'm correct, it sounds like what you're saying is that this is something that could be implemented for the town in a lower hurdle cost way, so that it could be done with grass, or even potentially without chillers, with the chillers on grass, and then even go to concrete later, and then enclosure later. So the hurdle rate to get this useful for the town is not as high as building a fully functional, chilled.
Correct.
Covered.
So we could just multi-phase this thing out as it goes, and as funding becomes available, we can keep adding to it.
That's great.
The other thing too is I've been doing a lot of classes on grants and all that kind of sorts of stuff. We were in New York City, and I took every grant class that you could take there possibly. And what this does do is it shows that we're really serious about this by us making the initial investment. It really puts you at a higher scale of being looked at, because now you've already made the upfront purchase. It raises the point scales of the grant writing processes and whatnot. So I do think it helps you in that regards too. So,
Do you have home away games with inlet?
Yeah, this is definitely not trying to take hockey away from inlet. So I've spoken to everybody. Yeah, I've spoken to everybody, because I don't want people thinking that we're trying to do anything like that. It really just, the rink's available for, I would think, whatever purpose people want to do with it. And to be honest with you, if you do the smaller tournaments for the kids and stuff like that, you can divide that rink in half, and you can have inlet, and now you got 3 rinks, and it's a multi-community process if they want to go down that road. There's endless opportunities here, I think, for possible benefit to the future. So.
Still going to be cold enough 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kurt. Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Hold on, this thing kicked out.
Okay, we'll skip her. Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes, potentially 5.
Oh, hold on, she's coming back in now. You there, Barb? Oh, I'm sorry about that. For some reason it tripped out. I just caught it.
Go ahead.
Barb, roll call vote. Up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
5 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, can you read the public hearing for CDBG, please?
Public hearing for CDBG. The Office of Community Renewal administers the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program for the state of New York. The New York State CDBG program provides financial assistance to eligible cities, towns, and villages with population under 50,000 and counties with an area population under 200,000. In order to develop viable communities by providing decent, affordable housing and suitable living environments, as well as expanding economic opportunities, principally for persons of low and moderate income. The state must ensure that no less than 70% of its CDBG funds are used for activities that benefit low to moderate income persons. The program objectivity are achieved by supporting activities or projects that benefit low and moderate income families, create job opportunities for low and moderate income persons, prevent or eliminate blight, or address a community development need that possesses a serious and imminent threat to the community's health or welfare. Project selection shall take into consideration the recommendation of the relevant Regional Economic Development Council or the Commissioner's determination that the proposed project aligns with the regional strategic priorities of the respective region. Last year's deadline was August 27th, 2022. It is expected that timeframe will be nearly the same for 2023. The maximum award will be $500,000 for scattered site housing rehabilitation. That's it.
So before we go to a motion, I want to talk about this, if that's okay with everybody. Robin Hill, I'd like your input on this as well. Or Dan Kiefer back.
Housing. Dan,
Okay.
but,
So
yeah,
I guess my question is should we be moving forward on this? We scored very low on our last scoring. Do you think we have a potential of scoring higher and making this work? Or is this not feasibly, is it not, I'm not sure that we're not.
I didn't see the application. I don't
Okay.
think you saw the applications. We're not sure what the details are, what the requirements are. So maybe this is something that we need to meet outside of this meeting. Could we
Sure,
do
that sounds good.
Spend more time to,
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any cost associated with the actual
Yes, there is.
application itself?
Yes.
And didn't, Robin, I'm sorry, I'm kind of once removed here. Didn't we have to, you guys, somebody has to be a part of something that we weren't, an organization that we needed to be a part of, and you guys applied for that, or what the heck was that all about?
that may be something totally different. What we've applied for, and we have not been told we received it, was for the Rural Preservation Program designation, because there isn't an organization in our area that represents Northern Herkimer County or Hamilton County. If we are to receive that designation as a vendor available to this area, that allows us to apply for grants, which I believe includes the CDBG, but other restore and the mobile home replacement programs, things like that. And it gives us some supportive funding to pay for our time to apply and administer awarded grants. So I don't think you have to be a designated organization to apply for the CDBG.
So I was under the
kinda
understanding that we did,
separate,
we did.
Does have a rule. Well, what were you gonna do if you would have gotten it the first time?
I don't know, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear to me what was going on.
Can I speak, because it is clear to me, that Mr. Hall sent us all an email today when he asked that we put this application from last year that he would do the CDBG grant application for audits. He told you that, Mike, and he mentioned you in the email that he had sent that to you. I asked him about cost for the mobile home replacement program and cost also for the restore program, I think it was that he also mentioned. And he said that we should not be concerned with cost. So I think it's important to give this, have the public hearing, have Mr. Hall come in and answer those questions, but he's willing to do a free CDBG grant that is normally $5,000. I think we'd be foolish not to, because we're currently paying him to do this work for us anyway. So the $5,000 that we paid before would apply again toward this grant. We'd be crazy not to apply. This helps existing homes, existing properties within the town.
And I understand that, Barb, and the cost wasn't my question. It was more towards, I thought we had to be a specific organization to be a part of this, and that's where I missed it.
We just need to be a municipality to apply.
Okay.
And that's what we hired him to do. So we did apply once already, and we didn't do well. Bonnie sat in on the exit meeting with and they learned, I mean, Bonnie can explain it better because she's been in it, but they learned what was done wrong in that first application. So I just think if we're getting this without any charge to us, we'd be crazy not to try and get one.
Just remember, this is just to set a public hearing.
Right.
This isn't to spend any money, this is to have him tell us about it.
Like I said, it was nothing to do with the cost. Or my question was.
If you get to the public hearing and any of your questions are unanswered or not answered the way that you want, I think then is the time not to put it forward as a public hearing. That's when it can be answered.
Okay.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to hold the first public hearing for CDBG 2023 on April 11th at 7 p.m. and further to authorize publication of the required legal notice for said hearing? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Can you do a roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Next up, we have Jackie. She has an update on our recreation program.
Yes, I do. We can, let's see, start with camp. Adventure Day Camp registration packets went out on Parent Square, effective, let's see, February 24th. And I will be opening it up to the public for registration on March 24th. And also tennis, t-ball, kickball, and swim program packets also went out on Parent Square. We're almost at half capacity for registration for camp alone. And the camp will run from July 5th through August 4th. I'm just putting the finishing touches on the camp schedule for the year. I will be applying for the beach and camp permits probably the first week in April. And I'm currently recruiting, interviewing, onboarding all the summer staff. I just want to bring people up to date on what other programs are being run from the Recreation Department. Something new is flag football. We have approximately 9 kids having a great time. And pickleball, the average participants are 16 to 18 with a max of 30. We have outgrown Park Ave. I'm hoping that we can find a year-round place for these people. There's a lot of people, a lot of interest. It's a great money maker as well. Tournaments are all over, so it's a very popular sport. Basketball, the average number of participants have been 10 to 15 people with the max of 35. So basketball is up there as well. Martial arts, 60 participants. I do have demographics available if anybody wants to see those as to where the people are coming from to participate in that sport. Kettlebell averages about 8 participants. Pilates averages 8 to 13 participants, and I will be taking Pilates out on the beach. when the weather gets better. Tentatively, the opening for the beach will be in mid-June. I'm developing a new swim program called Baby and Me. That will make a total of 5 different swim programs we have available: guppy, trout, pike, junior swim club, and now this Baby and Me. The pavilion is up and running, and in there we have at least 6 different activities going on each week. And that's a good thing. We're just keeping everybody busy. I did give Nancy, and I think you gave it to the board. Okay. So I received an email from Kyle Brown, and basically it's saying on March 9th, 2023, the Town of Webb School Board approved the surplus of our old Everson indoor scoreboards and shot clocks as well. Attached are the scoreboards, which you have a picture of. We hope the Town of Webb could utilize these items for the Hildebrandt Rec Center. I just found out there's 2 of them, one of which we can start with immediately if the board approves that. And I spoke to Alex to try to get a background as to how, where we can put them, the best place, and how easy it is or difficult it would be to attach or get them up and running. So Alex didn't see it being a problem where they would go on the wall that is across from the playground. I don't know what side that is. And it was, let's see, they just need a normal outlet and it would be wireless. The only catch to the second scoreboard to have it run independently would be additional equipment, which I don't know how much, I don't know what the equipment is. I'm in the process of looking. Kyle's going to help me see what type of equipment I need. If it's not in my budget this year, I'll put it in for next year. But at least we can have one up and running, and other activities can use that as well. I think so. Actually, I'm just looking to see if the board can give me the okay to move forward on getting at least one of the scoreboards right now from the school.
Do we need more than one put in that facility?
No, there's that wheelie portable one that's in there right now.
I tried connecting that last week and it didn't work. We don't have to have 2. My only thought on that was that now we have 4 basketball hoops and we can have 2 games going at once. I think that's what people were just, talking about.
Yeah, the one scoreboard for that building, the one scoreboard going on the North Street side, not across in the playground. They were in there. Mike Farm was in there yesterday. Alex Ross and we were in there yesterday putting those other hoops up, and they were talking about putting the one scoreboard tucked on like the North Street side along the road, because that's where the ceiling comes down the lowest and it fits there. That way, if there's events or anything, or weddings or anything like that, the big giant walls won't have a scoreboard smack dab in the middle of it for like other events that are in there.
Yeah, the only problem with that was when you have soccer going on, it's a direct shot, and I don't have the screen cover. The school's keeping that, so I don't know the cost of that.
It'd be pretty difficult for the ball to hit the scoreboard with the goal there. We were looking at it yesterday. I know Alex had spoke to you. But
yeah.
I think to keep it out of the way, but as far as it goes, needing 2, I mean that can be figured out. But needing 2, it's not necessary. But yeah, they're I've been plugging that thing in for 20 years. It's one controller for both scoreboards, so that you have to have another controller, which that company may or may not do anymore, because the new one they have is the same exact scoreboard. It's just LED and more.
Wasn't there something wrong with it though? I thought there was something wrong with it at this point.
No, it's just like.
Then you have to keep turning it off, turning it back on.
It was just like to get it to go along with the shot clock. There's a shot clock, a 35-second shot clock that's different. That kept causing those to like trip. The shot clock's not necessary down there.
Okay.
We would never need a shot clock. But as far as having a second scoreboard, I mean, I don't know how thick they are. I think it's like to lean it against the wall somewhere in case we needed it down the road. I don't think would be the worst thing. Obviously, the school just wants to get them out of wherever they're storing them. But the one could definitely go on the wall. They said they didn't have a problem at all getting that up. We would all help. We were in there talking about it yesterday.
What do they cost, brand new? Just out of curiosity.
The ones that the Wattis Foundation, the ones that we just got was another donation for Wattis Foundation, the same company that, got the grant for the floor down here. They worked with the school like that, 25 grand. So.
Jackie, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Thank you. Thanks
So
for
do
all
we
you
have to
do.
give her a nod to accept those, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say yeah.
Yeah, this is a gift to the town then, I mean,
Yeah.
is that how that works?
Okay,
Yep.
I'll move forward on it then.
Okay, thank you for
All right,
all you do,
thanks.
we appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, now we're off to board members. Kurt?
This Thursday, we're meeting with a ski lift manufacturer company that's coming to do a site tour for the master plan that we're creating for Macaulay Mountain. They're currently working on an estimate of what that might look like. Again, this is we're just getting numbers together, getting a plan together. But he's coming to do a physical visit on Thursday, so that's good. We had Snowtech come. They're doing a free, kind of like a master plan, I guess they call it, of snowmaking, what they would recommend for snowmaking for the new trail that's being proposed, and also the existing upgrading what our current system is. We did a tour with them 2.5 weeks ago, or a little over 2 weeks ago. He came up and did a ride around, met with Steve and me, and Steve gave him basically a ride around the whole thing, looked at our compressor room, everything like that. So they're going to give us an estimated cost of what it would cost to upgrade our systems, utilizing maybe more fan guns, which would also possibly make it so that we only, instead of using 2 compressors, it would drop down to 1 compressor. So you can get a cost savings there too with that. The snow guns fans are definitely more expensive, so there is a trade out, but long term it might open up opportunities for grants and NYSERDA and stuff like that, because you're going to be saving power, which sounds weird, but they actually like that, is my understanding. So we're basically just exploring it. So right now it's just exploring, just trying to get numbers together, trying to come up with some something that we can then, as a board, choose to move forwards with as a plan. But they offer the service for free, so we took advantage of it, and they're working on that. So hopefully in a few weeks we'll have those numbers.
There's some folks in the community that, have they been talking to you about their ideas of
Depends on which one. So I've been talking to a lot of people, but I'm not sure which.
Hannah's?
Who?
The Hannah's?
Mark
Yeah,
Hanna?
I have that plan.
Yeah, he's sent me here. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So right now we're just getting
encouraged
details of
them
money
to-
and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing being set yet. And there is Brian Bamberger is kind of like leading the charge of the community. I'm not sure what the right word is, but basically from he's been a part of it. There's been other people that have reached out that want to be involved too. So
Yeah,
right
we
now
had
we're
suggested them, to make sure they were talking to you.
yeah, no, for
about-
sure. Yeah. So
Good.
just trying to get a sense on scale and money first, so we can like really digest where we're going with this. Like, don't want to start going down the road. We're doing this, doing that if we don't have a scale. Like I have no scale. I mean,
Right.
I know chairlifts cost 1.5 million minimum. So
You're gonna be in the millions for a new chair.
yeah. So I mean, I know that's the only number I do know, is that the smallest chairlift they make is 1.5 million. So like, I know that it's way more than that. So
Our existing chair was 1.2 million when we put that in 1970.
yeah. So I'm anticipating real numbers here.
You're
But
gonna spend a lot more than that. The next question I had is, where is this money gonna come from?
oh, good question. But if you don't have a plan in place, we'll never get it. So I mean, the chairlift is 50 years old. So basically, the way it works, if you don't have a shovel-ready plan that we can approve as a town, we'll never get funding for it. So the whole point of all these things is just
I have
getting.
one more question pertaining to Macaulay. I guess I was under the understanding that there's a brand new spool of cable there for Max Back.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there for a couple of years.
Yep.
I guess my question is, well, it's sitting there rotting away. Why hasn't it been put on the lift yet?
Well, it was determined, I think, if I remember correctly, the cable was purchased. We were going to move forwards with it, and then it was the cost associated with rigging it up and moving forwards with it was still pretty high. So it
We're
was,
just gonna leave the lift sit there and die, like we did with Maple Ridge, is that what we're gonna do?
I think so right now. I think that's where we're at with it. We haven't come up with a determination of that. So, you know, it hasn't been getting run that much. I know that we tried to return the spool. That we were told that there was a good chance that the spool was going to be able to go back, and that didn't happen. So that's the honest truth.
Is there any other
away?
Any other plans to run up a new chair, or a T-bar, Stevie, what you was talking about, to the bottom of the camp? To enhance
a
the
chairlift.
beginner slopes?
Yeah, it would be a chairlift.
You know, a third of Macaulay is really like beginner slopes.
Yeah.
We'll get back to public discussion in a minute. We're gonna get through the board.
I get it.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
So those are the things. Those are things that are being looked into. And then the mountain biking. You know, we're still waiting for the Army Corps of Engineers to approve whether if we have to get a permit or not within the states requiring a response from the Army Corps Engineer.
And the DEC.
And the DEC.
So we had to submit an application to the Army Corps of Engineers and DEC, an application to not get a permit. Hopefully they come back and say you're good to go and continue on.
Right. So that was something that was new that the state. It seems like they don't tell us all the stuff. Each step's a process, I guess. So, so we're still not ready to go to bid for the mountain bike trails until the Army Corps gets back to us. That's all I got.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah.
Barb. Hello? Is she on there, Kurt?
I'm here.
Okay. Your turn.
Okay, so using Kate Bartlett's phrase, she sent me an email, let's talk trash. So Kate watched the last meeting where we talked about the stickers or whatever for our trash pickup, which I know that Tom discussed with you guys in a Monday meeting. So I know that we haven't come to any decisions yet, but Kate did make a great recommendation that while we are in the process of doing all of this being, you know, probably getting stickers for bags, getting some kind of marker for vehicles, not changing any of the existing pickup, but just making it so we have a third layer of protection, so that we know who's using our transfer station. Kate suggested a placard of some sort for particularly the rental properties, but any home to have on hand, so that people know what our policies are for recycling, for trash pickup, what's allowed, what isn't, what days are they open, what hours are they open, just all the things that would be required. She said when they've stayed other places that people have had signage like that in the rentals, and it's really beneficial. So we can talk more about that, but I would like everybody again to be thinking about that. And also in the process, Bonnie had asked us a while ago about updating the fees, so I would like to be able to do that too. So that can happen when I get back. We can talk more about that and look at those things. I know that we just appointed Amy. I'm wondering if the interviews occurred at least for the Zoning Board of Appeals, and if there was any consideration to asking Amy, once she's done with that position, if she'd still be interested in coming on as a planning board member.
So we didn't do the interviews yet, Barb. That was me and Tommy. We just haven't gotten together on that.
We tentatively put tomorrow, so it's probably gonna go into next week. It's good.
Yeah, things been a little busy lately.
That's all right. I just didn't know if they had. And what do you guys think? Is it a good idea to ask Amy, because this is a temporary spot and she'd be a great fit. So.
She can't do both, right?
No, not at the same time, but she could segue into that afterwards.
Okay. Yep.
I wondered, Nancy, if you heard from Mike Lennon and if he gave you stuff for the attorney.
No, nothing.
Okay, all right. And did you hear from Brian regarding the zoning update? Is that moving forward for being adopted now, knowing that we have all the language, so that we can go to public hearing at some point?
When I talked to them last week, they're still reviewing it with one other person in the law firm.
Okay, all right. I don't know why this is taking so long, but it is.
It's been years, Barb.
It's insane, it really is. I don't know what the lawyer does when he says he's reviewing, but one other thing, when I was in New York City, and I talked with Tom a little bit about this, one of the classes I willing to look into something like that, to maybe streamline, update our process. And that is all that I have.
Thank you, Barb. Tommy, the phone was next.
Oh, you're good.
So you're up next.
I just wanted to give a couple thank yous to, the Snowfest was down there at the rec center. I was busy again. That was nice to see CAA, pictures, videos of people being in town. People, Casey throwing the snow around to make that whole event happen, and his workers. And then after the whole thing on Sunday night, we went in there to go get ourselves ready to put together some more hoops for the basketball down there that we raised some money for. And the place was already spotless. Everything was put away. I gave Dale a call, and Judy Lonergan, Mike Ross too, Alex, Eric Sokash, Ricky Kipp and Kim Fendler, people down there, just like kind of people working together. It's kind of nice to see right now. There's, whether it's an adult event over there to bring in tourism for the town, and then followed right by the next night we got people in there doing karate. So it's just really great to see. It's kind of what we all envisioned and planned from the beginning with that whole place versus what it used to be where, hey, we got Snowdio in 2 weeks, so nobody can go in there before or after, and what's the point of going in there because it was no need to. What could you really do? So the toddler time, all that stuff, Jackie, everything that you've done over there, there's been some upgrades, which is hard to do because it's a town-owned building. It's not like it's a normal rec center with a, privately owned with money to be able to just put into it whenever you need something. So the additions that have been made over there by everybody is nice. The storage is working out fine. There's plenty of room over there for what we have right now. I think it's just going to grow and definitely continue to be an asset to help us out with, the tourism thing that's going on right now with what we have going on. The snow, it's been a tough winter and we're coming out of it, we're making it through. And then of course, I just wanted to address the whole housing thing and just, instead of just ignore the whole process, like we obviously, had a lot of differences of opinions and things went a certain way for where we're at with People First and what they brought to the table, which is fine. It's not moving forward as it stands right now, but I would really just want people to know that, it's still my mission to really try and address the problem. I don't think it should just go away. I think we need to figure out something to really find a solution here instead of being like, hey, this wasn't it. Let's put it to bed and move on. Because I really, between being coaching at the school the last 8 years, and we're coming up on 10 years over here in the center of town and up places up there, and there's more people that have way more experience than I do that have the same feelings that own restaurants that have been here longer than I have. And I just don't think we're too far off from really going downhill here to being able to cater to our tourism, which it just keeps going up, and everybody's doing a great job with that. But I just wanted folks to know that that didn't go to bed for me for trying to address that issue. I don't think that people understand right now in order to run a business you have to do what a lot of us are doing. A lot of restaurants, shops, grocery stores. You basically, if you're going to run a business up here, you have to buy a home for like $300,000 and house employees in order to run your business. We can't expect people to do that in the future. It's too much to be able to afford to open a business, find a building, and then also tack on a housing for your employees. It's very difficult for a lot of people to try and do that, and it's just going to lead to places shutting down if we just keep ignoring the problem here. I think it's great that we got the short-term rental law in place. I think there's more to be done with that. That's something, at least, to get that rolling. They're working hard over there to get everybody registered. But yeah, I just think that communication and people in general, like I feel like there's a lot of adults between the school and between here that everything's getting intertwined right now, and I think we can find better ways to communicate with one another and try and be on the same team. I don't think there should be much more discussion on the need for housing here, and if we're against one solution, that's fine, but we still can't forget about the actual issue that's in front of us. That's all I have on all that stuff.
Thank you, Tom. Mike?
Yeah, thanks, Ronnie. I guess I'm gonna go down that road with Snowfest. I would like to say thank you to all the town employees and all the volunteers and that, cause it was a good weekend. I hope everybody did well. But that also brings attention to the fact of, we're talking about putting more activities down there and everything. And first thing comes to mind is having to deal with these events. We don't have any parking down there. So I think we need to address that. Next thing is with all these events, we depend on a lot of help from volunteers and all that kind of stuff, and that's dwindling, just to let everybody know. So all these businesses that are reaping the benefit from these events that very few people put a lot of time into, is gonna start getting tougher, just to put that out there. I don't know who's taking over, but a lot of us are getting a little older, and so, I mean, I always thought that the events were a huge thing in this community, and I still do. But unless some people start stepping up, I think it's gonna be an issue in the future. Anyways, we also, Bonnie and I went down to the DPW garage to talk about a little situation that was going on, and that is the drivers of those trucks. How do I say this, Bonnie? They're supposed to basically be able to take care of their own truck to a point. But that place down there's one gentleman that actually has the qualifications to work on those trucks, but he's not a mechanic in that position. So basically,
it's not his job title.
It's not his job title, correct. So he basically can say, no, just take it to the garage or whatever and fix the truck. So, not for this budget year, I would suggest, but maybe for this board to think about working on getting a mechanical position in that department so that they can take care of small things, brakes, air brakes, things like that, oil changes, all that kind of stuff that may save the town money if this person would accept, or a person would accept it. So, for discussion. I was down at the pavilion when we got the new sweeper. I don't know if you guys knew we got the new floor sweeper. That helped clean it up for you, Tommy.
Not for me.
For the building. So there is some issues with that floor. I will tell you, Tom. Being down there for these events, there's some things that pieces are coming up.
Yeah, but we've addressed in the last 2 months. They're coming to trim the edges. The edges are too close. They trim them too close, and when the heat is on, it causes them to expand. They're coming to trim them, and it won't happen.
Okay.
We dealt with it last summer because the garage doors were open, so the direct sunlight came on the tiles. And when the tiles came up, they came up and trimmed them, and then we didn't know this until the heat started going on. It started to do it on the ends too, so they're coming up to.
Okay.
To
I
come
wasn't
and fix
aware that
this
they were
spring.
coming to do it. I thought they did it already. So.
I actually was in there today. I marked every one of them that needs to be trimmed and cut. And they're coming to do that when they come and do the lines, to redo the painted lines. In the spring, they need to be able to have the ventilation and the doors open and the fans on and stuff like that for that to adhere to the.
I just want to, being down there and seeing things, I gotta stay on top of it. I mean, the floor's a good addition. It looks nice down there. It's nice to work off of. So, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Nancy next because I forget her
Gee, thanks.
every time.
So I need a couple resolutions, a bingo license for the Old Forge Fire Department for 2023. Resolution.
Make a motion.
Need a motion?
Make a
I
motion.
make a motion that the fire department,
Yeah, fire
bingo,
department.
yes.
Do we have a second?
Oh, yeah, I'll make the, Barbara.
Barbara. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We need a motion for a raffle license for the Old Forge Fire Department for 2023.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We need a game of chance license for the Old Forge Fire Department for 2023.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And the last one is just a FYI. We're having a rabies clinic on May 18th at the Old Forge Fire Department. They will do cats, dogs, and ferrets. They suggest $5 per pet, walk-in and pre-registration either way. And that is, like I said, May 18th, 5:30 to 7 at the Old Forge Fire Department.
Good.
Nice.
It's from the Herkimer County doing it. That's it. That's what I got.
Thank you.
Back to you, Brian.
Thank you. In January, I wrote a letter to the governor regarding our sewer concerns. I did get a response from her. We now have a direct contact with the EFC, another direct contact, mind you. We had one before. But she's going to work with Corey Reed to continue with funding applications. A new funding opportunity opened up last week, and Corey will be looking into this application as well. I did attend Snowfest this weekend. It seemed to be a great success. Thank you to everybody, volunteers, sponsors, CAA, all the town employees who helped make this possible. And a huge shout out again to Mike Farmer, who is seen everywhere, early in the morning, late at night, doing all kinds of stuff that nobody even knows he does. So I'm going to thank Mike Farmer again. On March 8th, I met with engineer John Putnam, Scott Gaffney, and the Jablonski team in charge of the Steamboat Landing pump station replacement. Weather permitting, that replacement's over here. Weather permitting, mobilization of this project will begin on March 26th. They hope to complete the project by May 14th. Again, it's weather related. So if we keep getting snow, it'll be pushed back. In February, most of the board members were able to attend training sessions in New York City. There were many different classes offered. I chose to take 3 different budgeting classes, a class on how to understand your fund balance, a class on civil service law, a class on public sector collective bargaining, and lastly, a class on leveraging public and private partnerships to drive down the costs and improve services within your community. I wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to go to these classes. They're very helpful, and I know I learned a lot. On our beach area, the H dock, the main dock out there, the pillars were put in the 1950s. They are rotting right out. The DPW will be removing these because it's becoming dangerous. We now need a plan to go forward. Either we have just the floating dock out there, or we put in, like Mike suggested, putting in a, what do you call it? A floating dock that we could pull in and out. So that needs to be talked about in the near future because that is definitely happening. How would everyone feel if we advertised on our Facebook and government pages stating that we have 2 facilities that are available for rentals, Macaulay Mountain and the George T. Hildebrandt Building? It's been talked about in the past, but I really don't know how anybody feels about that.
As far as like events and
Yeah, like advertise that you really could, I don't know that everybody knows you can rent for a wedding or...
I think before we do that, we gotta look at the fees again. Those fees are,
Correct.
they need to be updated. I think.
Okay. So we can look at the
And then
fees and then look into maybe advertising?
And employees, do we have enough to bring on more when it comes to, in both areas?
For...
Well, when they rent it, they don't.
I know.
Rentals.
Just more, Stevie, you were just talking about weekends and looking forward to having at least some time off moving forward here. It's been so busy, so having events each and every weekend is more on their plate.
Okay.
As I understand.
That's where the recreation manager comes into play. That
Jackie's our
we
recommender.
keep kicking down the road. We need to get that position in place because that person could handle that stuff, working with a calendar, knowing what dates are available.
Correct.
Or that office, that same thing that you were on too, about the office manager spot.
Correct.
Right. That's all I meant by that, by like more people in place to be able to. It seems like that, there's a lot of people that are already working for the town that are doing, they're just like you guys just said, they're working on their own vehicles, and there's everybody, we have people in the wastewater treatment plant that are doing things here and there, and it's just.
Okay.
Seems like there's.
November 2nd is election day. There are some positions open on this board. Number 1 would be mine. I am running. Town board seats available would be Kurt Gardner and Barbara Green. Kurt, will you be running?
I think so.
Barbara, will you be running?
Oh, she just got kicked out once.
Sorry. I'll keep going. Town clerk position is open. Nancy, will you be running?
Yes, I am running.
Highway superintendent job will be open, and I will answer for Casey. He will be running. He's not here tonight.
There you go, okay. So now you can.
Technology.
It's great when it works.
Barb, I just announced that election day is November 2nd, and I was telling everyone about the positions that could be open here on the board, and I wanted to know if you'd be running for your seat or not.
Absolutely not.
Barb will not be running, so there is, a position there as well. Thank you, Barb. Okay, lastly, first thing is, I don't want anybody here or anybody on this board to think that I do not care, because I do care. Okay? However, I have to set some boundaries with everyone. I am no longer accepting text messages. No more. None. It's not going to be a way of communicating with me. Emails are a great way to communicate. However, chain emails are not working for me as well. If you would like to email me, please get all your thoughts together and send me an email. If I don't answer in what you feel is a timely fashion, then pick up the phone and call me. I am available by cell phone or my office from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I am available 24 hours a day for any emergency within the town of Webb. I thank you very much for respecting my boundaries. Next, we are going to the public. At our last meeting, I felt like it got a little bit out of hand when it came to talking to the board. So I would like you to please address your comments or questions to the entire board and don't pick out one person. Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Ron.
I have a comment to make. It's not a question. This is the town of Webb. It's a community, or it used to be. We don't have a newspaper. I don't see anybody from the press here who writes for the Express or Weekly Adirondack or any other former newspaper. There are lots of organizations in the town, like the town board, the planning board, the zoning board, the school board, places like the CAA, CAP 21, or Living ADK. And I heard something this morning that on Facebook or the internet or something, because I don't have a television, so I look at my phone all the time. And it came to my thought that blame it on COVID. For the last 3 years, this community has been so screwed up because of COVID. It's nobody's fault. It's COVID's fault. Let's get over it and let's get back to being a community. You're all doing a great job. Come on, as best you can.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
I appreciate that.
I'm just wondering what the status of the St. Patrick's Day Parade is.
Okay.
Good question.
Hang on, I got notes on that. Where'd I put it?
I just wonder if I need to call the 100 people that are coming at the motel and tell them
You
not
do
to.
not need to call the 100 people that are coming at the hotel. St. Patrick's Day Parade will be on. There may be a parade route change. And the reason that is the state does not want us to put the parade down 28 right now with the snow that's on the road. You are technically supposed to have a 30-day permit for any parade that goes down 28. For 50 years, we have never done it.
Do you do it for fire school?
Never. I do not know of any application to the state for this. I have never heard of it. I just heard of it today that you're supposed to have an application.
So how'd it come up?
For 50 years, they've never had an application.
I'm also wondering, just because during fire school, the town always closes the road down by the motel. which is our only, that's the only in and out. We've never been asked. No one's ever came to us and said, can we close this road down? They just, I don't know, you guys vote on it or something. And no one's ever came in and said, hey, you know, we're gonna close the road, and there's a party in the street, which is fine, we don't have an issue with it. But I just feel like the timeliness of this too, it's like the parade is Friday, here we are Tuesday. I mean, not that it's I'm just concerned going forward how things are gonna look.
The only difference with that is the state versus the town, right? It's State Route 28 versus the fire, that's a town.
Right, but they do the fireman's parade down Route 28.
And I can't answer for the fire hall. I can't answer for the firemen, but I do know that the town of Webb has never put an application in. We just did it.
Right, like the school has their parade on, I mean,
Right,
it's
and
just gonna open
technically you
it.
need an application to close that road.
We've had snowy St. Patty's Day parades before too, I feel like.
Way more than this.
Yeah, so
And it's all
I'm
gonna
not
melt
sure,
Friday.
I don't think any of us know where it's really coming from, right?
So
Basically,
is it a
cleans the road
definite?
right off anyways, there won't be anything.
Is it a definite that you're gonna change the route, or is that if the snow
I
is?
think the route definitely has to be changed at this point because our attorney's been contacted of what's going on. So we don't have a choice at this point. When
So
the
how does that
attorney's been
impact the people
contacted,
on the back streets that live there?
Then we don't have a choice. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I'm just, yeah.
I mean, we're putting ourselves at,
What type of
be
permit
the same
is
doing
it?
that.
I know.
Alex asked what type of permit is it? I'm not sure.
Is it like just a method of handling traffic with the?
Approved permit is all
department?
it says. It's a special use of a public road or facility. Doesn't really say.
Well, you got a direct line to the governor, call her.
We have calls out
We
to the
have calls out to
the
everybody.
senators right
So
now.
it's still gonna happen though, that's just,
The parade will happen.
you just don't know where it's going.
It just might
won't
not
be
be
at Main
Main
Street.
Street.
So it's a DOT issue? completely?
Yes.
Didn't they say that Bonnie, the DOT was gonna ultimately have the final say on whether it's gonna be redirected versus right now us? I think just right now it's
This letter that we got from the DOT tonight
Oh, it
says
came
we're not
just
having
today.
it down Main Street right now. Okay, now we have calls out to Senator or Smolin, Robert Smolin, and Mark Walczyk, and they're trying to help us work on our behalf to get it down Main Street. I cannot guarantee it.
Just trying.
But
Thank
we're
you.
trying hard.
Yeah.
And apologize that this happened at the last minute. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Can I, not to go back to that, I don't wanna do housing, from the position available at, or coming up at McCully, can I get a better description, or do you guys have a better
I've asked for a description from the board for 2 months now, and they can't narrow it down.
So, can I
That's
just
where I'm at.
throw in a couple cents?
Sure.
For most ski area deals like that, they have someone in charge of all the events, including, I'll use Kandahar as an example. If there's 2 days of racing, a possible training day, it's all scheduled. Training spaces are scheduled on specific areas on a written on a schedule. So they say, hey, Saturday, Polar Bear's
Polar
supposed
Bears
to
are
be
training
on,
here.
Zone A, whatever.
Right.
well,
Is that
to go
is that going to be in that person's
What
description, or is that still under Steve, or how's it all? That's just my question.
We all realized we had a need for it with the events upcoming, and the same thing I was just talking about with people having different, job descriptions and job sites. So it was a new position we budgeted for to help out.
What is the position?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out, the actual description of the position.
I would like it to be McCauley Mountain Office Manager, but
Right now
it's
we're going-
grown
Years, do we need another
reached out into
position?
different areas.
What's
We have
that?
a manager there. The
Yeah,
manager's done that job since its inception.
But the place has grown, obviously.
Oh.
It's gotten busier. There's more events and there's more things going on there. It would take a lot more off of the plate of
What's
people that are up there.
grown, Tommy?
It's going
Nothing's
downhill.
really grown up there. There's no more skiers on that mountain than there was 30 years
I
ago.
think
less.
There's less.
This position, Paul, was not intended just for McCauley Mountain. McCauley needs some help in their office, but this position, originally, the discussion was that this person would help to arrange any new events that come to town, that would help arrange schedules for the recreation director, take some of the stuff off her plate, some stuff off Nancy's plate. There was a lot of discussion about this, Jesse gave us rather, the description that came from Steve Billings, and we were asked to address that, which I did in writing. Everyone has a copy of the recreation manager's recommendations that I put down, and no one has responded to me other than Tom. I think Mike said it looks good, and so to say that we haven't done anything, I beg to differ with you.
The other
I disagree because in November, when Steve came to us, he asked for an office manager. And that was what that position was set up for, was to help Steve in the office. That was the original plan. Yeah, I remember the rest of it, but you're putting Jackie's position in it and you're putting Mike Farmer's position in it. That is also in the job description that you all are trying to rewrite.
Tourism is definitely growing, and it's to coordinate and schedule events at the same time when it was originally talked about with growth of all areas. You know,
If it's a growth of all areas, yes.
yeah,
But
that's
but
what.
you
So the other,
came out and said it's Macaulay
the other,
Mountain.
well,
We have a manager there.
that's what Barbara's saying. The other title was recreation manager. I felt recreation manager title was too close to recreation director, where people would say, hey, look, we already have a recreation director, why would we recreation manager? So that's where I kind of disagree with Barb in that sense. And then the office manager, recreation manager thing is what other folks have been disagreeing on. And it just seems to me like, I think with, you know, I think it would be nice if we got to a point where we were able to cater more to Macaulay, where we did need someone there specifically to help out in that position. Or we did have somebody that could meet and greet. We don't have anybody to like meet and greet anybody for events. You have a wedding or you have or just a hold anything anywhere. It's just, here's your key, you know, have at it. And I think having somebody to schedule and answer and do these sorts of things would be very helpful to everybody. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed in their positions right now for under town jobs.
As well, that we needed someone to be able to open and close North Street, so that Jackie was told us.
That's correct, but then when it went to pulling events into the area and working with Mike on the snowmobile trails, I think it just got a little bit out of control when all that got added to it.
And it had nothing to do with snowmobiling, it had to do with if there was a foot race or something like that. This person would interact with those departments.
We have a tourism director.
That's what our publicity director's for.
Well, yes, I agree. Why are we hiring another person?
And then Jackie's our rec director, so why do we have the word rec in that position?
I agree. You have a manager at Macaulay. If he can't handle it, then hey, maybe you ought to think about somebody else.
This person would help to oversee the facility. You know what? You guys do what you want. You don't want any of my input, so do what you want.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
So, I guess going off Mike's comment on CAA and all the events in town, no offense, Dale, you guys, the group that's doing it is aging. Has the board considered a department, adding a department for that event? Well, I get it, but CAA's running out of people, everyone's running out of people.
Where are you going to get them from?
With a possibility,
we have people, they just don't want to do it. I'm telling you.
You got people, and I get it. Believe me, I get it. Dude, I'm still doing event stuff for Polar Bear, and I'm way out of it. I get it, but my point is, if the town went forward with a board or a position or a committee, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe you can draw in from some of the local college areas to do internships and even J1 students and stuff to help with these programs that want to be in tourism.
Where are they going to stay? Where are they going to live?
We'll get that, you know, it's all going to get worked
I'm
out.
not wondering,
You got
where are they gonna
baby
stay? Where are they gonna
steps.
live?
Yes, I understand.
The other thing.
Okay,
I get
next.
it. I don't want to get into that.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just saying,
Sorry, Bob.
can the town board think about doing a department, whatever you want to call it, to help with all these events?
That's what Mike is.
I think Mike's on 100% right. Every group and organization out there is running out of volunteers. And
The young people don't have.
if you want to be in the tourist business, maybe the town has to be in the business.
There's young parents and young people that can't get involved because they don't have babysitters, they don't have daycare, they don't have.
We all went through it.
Yeah, what happened when we did it?
I'm
Still do
sorry.
it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's related to what you were
It's
saying.
not. It's not a crop. It's not.
So like
we all did it.
Because both parents have to work to be able to afford to live here. There's not stay at home.
Well,
I disagree.
We all did it.
It's okay.
Okay, one at a time, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so yeah, my question for all of you, and I know this may not have traditionally been what the town board would be doing. I know some of you, I've been related to this town, from coming up Summers 40 years ago to work. My brother and Hugh Mariak and Jack Crown started Adirondack Amusements, which is now Adirondack Pizzeria. The demographics of our town, I feel like this is a town for me, have changed in the last 40 years, a lot. I was staggered to see the 2019 study that said there's only about 20% of the population, year-round population, that's under 50. That's like 450 people. I think the US is 65% under 50. So if we dropped 1,000 under 50-year-olds in town today, we'd only be at about 1,500 under 50 and 1,500 over. That's 50-50. I know that normally maybe you wouldn't have to think about this, and we know that housing is part of this solution, but what else, if anything, has the board done or been thinking about to get a lot more younger people to come and want to live in this town? And not just to work, but also to own businesses. This town is a great place, but a lot of greatness comes from the businesses that people run for themselves and their families, and the opportunities that provides for employment and the support of the tourist industry that gives. And I see that all those wheels just flying off the bus in the next 10 to 15 years, just because of the fact that we only got a few hundred people under 50, and that's why there's not enough volunteers, like you were saying, Mike. Because most of the people, and there's a few people in here, that I'm not trying to, say anything against, but most of the people doing everything in this town are over 50, and that's not going to last. I mean, Paul just retired. There goes one of our main, people in town to help with recs and things like that. I mean, I just look around and I see a lot of great people, but they've been running businesses for decades and they're ready to move on. And I don't know what we can do, but I hope that it's something you guys are trying to think of besides just the housing. People that advertising out to the cities. I know there's young people that would love to do something different. They may just not realize there's opportunities to buy businesses up here. But if all those businesses for sale now end up going to the highest bidder, they're probably going to be turned into real estate.
Well, that's what I said earlier. We're asking people to come up and buy a business. Maybe an old, like for instance, front door back for another 10 years. I mean, if somebody wants to come up and take over that business over there, we have 240 seats. They have to come up here and try and find housing for all of the employees that I have over there in order to do that. Like, it's yes, I do. There's 240 seats combined in there. Yep.
It's not an easy place to make a living. You got to remember that.
Yeah,
Just say no.
and I have done something. I have 3 children that I've asked to come here and live and be in our community. They told me that I taught them to grow up and move out on their own, and that's what they chose to do.
Yeah.
Now then maybe they'll come back someday. I see there's a few people in here that have.
I think there's a number of things that a lot of people are not taking into consideration. Number one, it's extremely hard to find anybody that wants to work today. Okay? That's number one. And the reason for that is, I think, there's too much free stuff for them. When they can get their rent paid and their electrical paid and everything paid for, why would you want to work? That's number one. Number two, our community has slowly, over the past 30 years, gone from a tourist-based community to a retirement-based community. And I personally feel that because, yes, I did just retire, but I dealt with these people for 40 years. And I've seen that over time. So, and the third thing is our wage scale is nowhere near kept up with the rest of the world, for Christ's sake. And it never has. So until those things change, nothing is going to change here.
Yeah, people go ahead and
Well, that's true. You know, people are having less children. You know, the days of people having 8 or 9 kids here.
Association actually has a program that they will work with young couples who want to come into the region and try to partner them with business owners who want to retire or sell out or whatever. So there is something in place. It's bigger than the town of Webb. It's a much bigger organization, and that's what they do. So there is something in place to help try to partner people with these businesses before they go out. The businesses have to reach out to them. But I've been a member of HANCA for years, and they do a lot of good things like that. Sometimes those things are bigger than the municipality. And I do believe that our publicity office has always tried to get people not only to come here to visit, but to try and encourage living here by seeing what we have available.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I think you don't tap into a lot of the resources that you have. I was a senior class advisor for years, had all kinds of kids at my disposal, but it was a small group, like the group we have here. You talk about parents can't afford to find babysitters. You have community service options. You want somebody to volunteer? Why not put together with one of the groups that you have a babysitting service that you could have them help out? If they're doing something at Snowfest from 12 to 4, you have some kids that volunteer to say that they will babysit. I bet if you put out there for a lot of people in town, they would be willing to sit down and help out. There are a lot of people. We've been full-time residents for over 5 years. We've been here since 1977. You assume, I think, a lot of times that everyone understands and knows what it is that people need. And that's not how things work. If you happen to talk to the right person, or if you happen to be on the right Facebook page, or whatever else it might be, that's how people know. But widespread, I don't think you understand that. Not everybody does know that. And there's some other avenues maybe that you could go to. Anytime
What avenues would you suggest?
I'm even saying that, something's coming up where you need some volunteers. To put a simple flyer, go around to some of the businesses, put it up there. You also have people who come in who are tourists who are really invested in this community. I'm sure that they would be willing to help. But there's a big divide sometimes, and I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm just going to tell you from somebody who is outside, from somebody who's in. There's not a united front. You have to stop and say to yourself, all of us, what do we look like to tourism? What do we look like for locals? What do we look like for people who have become locals? And maybe just stop for a minute and say to yourselves, look at the different perspectives that people have. And I don't think that's always taken into consideration. And I just want to put it out there that there's a lot that could be done in a very nice way to get people to join together.
I'd love your suggestions on that sometime in my office, 100%.
So Zamboni, an example is school has Key Club, which has volunteer hours in it.
They have to get like 20 a year. Like my daughter would totally babysit to get hours for that.
She has 150 volunteer
Key Club
hours
does quite a
this year.
bit for the community.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff.
But he's just saying put it out there
Key
like
Club, there are clubs out there that will.
they were just at Snowfest.
Yeah.
They help.
But also at the same time, we know that the school graduated 17 kids last year, right? 17 total. I mean, do we understand that that's going down too in the younger grades, like down in the middle school and the elementary?
There's also no jobs here
We
either.
have a lot of those
Hey.
kids that we've gotten to know, and those kids are powerhouses. They are absolute powerhouses. They are involved in a lot of things, and if you ask them to do something, they will find some time to make it work for all of us. And also don't count out everybody who's over 50. There seems to be like an ageism thing going on.
You can't do that. I didn't say one thing like that.
I didn't say you, I'm just saying in general. I keep hearing this all the time about, the people who are over 50, I don't have one foot in the grave and another on a banana peel. I mean, we've got a lot left to offer too. Just a thought.
I wasn't trying to I didn't put
It wasn't saying anybody in particular, I'm just saying I've heard it an awful lot.
Jackie?
I just would like to ask the board if they could make some type of decision regarding any changes at the beach by April 15th. It's whatever you guys decide is fine, but on my part, I have to rewrite a safety plan. I have to look at
For the dock?
Yeah.
Oh,
we can
yeah.
do that.
Well, this just came
And-
about, what?
No, I
today,
understand
yesterday?
that. There's a lot on my part, and then I have to go back to the Department of Health, get approval, get their blessing
Try to
on
do
it.
that in a timely fashion for you, John.
And I need to do that before the beach opens, and
I gotcha.
they do become very busy in May, because a lot of beaches open in May.
Right.
Thank you.
Hang on, Bob, you had something?
Yeah, you know, sincerity and transparency, whose responsibility is it to procure a permit for a parade? It's been going on 100 years since the.
I don't know, not me. They've been breaking the law for 50 years. I'm not standing. I'm not taking
I'm
the
not
fault
saying it's
for
your
that.
fault.
I can tell you right
I'm not
now.
going there. I'm just saying, how did this come up this afternoon?
What?
How did this come up this afternoon?
How did it come up this afternoon?
You know, after 100 years.
Somebody threw it under the bus.
Somebody
It was
threw
blizzarding in
something
Utica
under
last
the
week,
bus.
so
I
it
mean,
break.
we gotta ask DOT for permission when they're the largest, polluter in town of Webb with their salt or whatever. We gotta go to them and ask them for a half an hour
I can
parade.
assure you it wasn't me.
I know,
Bans for
but I'm just
20
saying.
years.
I'm not throwing anybody under the bus right now, sorry.
All right, well,
I'm not answering that.
somebody should be responsible
They will be.
to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And
First
make
off.
sure that we have a permit next time.
Right.
The way we're supposed to do it, 50 years ago.
Do they need a permit to plow the roads today, or didn't they get the permit?
Well, they don't need a permit to dump 28 tons of salt between the Beaver and Eagle Bay.
Dan, go ahead. You had a
For a
question?
12-hour shift.
I'll keep it silly and short, I guess, to some degree with engaging with younger folks, because I, having moved here 18 months ago, I will say it's hard to engage, and something that might make it a little bit easier is that Zoom board up there. Most folks that are here, 20% of the town is under the age of 49. If you live here, generally you have kids. And if you look around this room, the people that can come to meetings in the afternoon, that can come to that can share their perspective, it's skewed to folks that have the time to take it off. And so Zoom,
we just got this for Zoom.
Okay, awesome. I would say that for all meetings would just immediately thrust 20 or 30 folks under the age, well, anybody could use Zoom, but under the age of some threshold where Zoom is a very common thing. So please do that. That'd be helpful.
So we'll have more attendance. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Next time you have somebody on a phone that's on the board, could you get a microphone so we could hear?
Yes,
We tried to do that, I'm sorry. We couldn't find the microphone to work. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna change the subject. I'm gonna go to your mechanic that you're talking
Yes.
about for that. The town of Webb has a beautiful facility.
Correct.
In our new highway garage. We're also probably we are the largest fleet within our community, is town-owned vehicles. My question is why hasn't the town ever considered or looked at the possibility of making their own repair facility where all town vehicles go to that facility for repair, oils, changes, tires, whatever?
We have.
We tried to do that.
We
Yeah,
have,
somebody else can answer that, I can't, but.
Well, Shane is the mechanic up there, and he's got a lot of stuff to do with those.
I'm not saying have Shane. You're not gonna do it with one guy. You're gonna do it
Exactly.
with 4 or 5.
Right.
Okay, but my point is, I guess I'm trying to say, is why wouldn't we make our own repair facility? And do it that way instead of, half of them are going here, some of them are going there, who the hell knows where the rest go?
We have discussed it, to be totally honest, and the highway garage was gonna be that spot, but it's just too much going on in there to have more than one mechanic working on brakes and
What's going
police
on?
cars and all that stuff.
I've been there quite a few times, and there's 4 empty bays most of the time, 3 empty bays.
If there's, I'm just telling you what I know.
There's 3 empty bays. So why, we own that building, the highway department doesn't. So if we, as a town board or people say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and that's where we're gonna do it, that's where it gets done. And the money, I think, maybe not in 2 years or 5 years, but over a 10 or 15 year period, the revenue you're gonna save, I think is gonna be well worth looking into it. The other thing I'm gonna say is you're not gonna pay, if you want a quality mechanic, somebody that can fix anything that breaks, an engine goes down or whatever, You're not gonna pay them $20 an hour.
No, we realize that,
40 and
and this
50
wasn't to put motors in and stuff like that. This is your general things to keep the trucks rolling, the garbage trucks.
I understand that. I ran a fleet for 40 years.
Right, you know what it's like.
So, but, yeah. I'm just curious as to why.
It has been talked about, I will tell you that. It gets a little more complicated, but it has been talked about. Whatever.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
Yes, on the assessor's position, also too, you consider, I can't remember what you always see them advertised on the TV for the online job place. I can't think of what, Indeed.
Yeah.
To post the job there also, because you might be able to get somebody from another whole state that might be interested to come here. So the whole country, not just New York.
I'll talk to the New York State Assessors Association.
Okay, on the short-term rentals, somebody brought up about short-term rentals and the laws in place. And when the law was voted in, I asked point blank, because the law says to regulate. And the law, when I asked it, point blanks, there's nothing in that law really regulates anything. You're just essentially registering people. I reached out to the assessor's office in 2020 to get a rough idea on how many houses are in the main section of the town of Webb, Bolton, Chain of Lakes, Old Forge, Jacara, and they gave me a number of 2,600 houses or properties, whatever you want to put it. And I think the last meeting or the meeting before, you said you have the company that's doing the registering is 600 houses they found.
Govos?
Huh?
I don't think they have a total yet. Do they have a total
I
yet?
don't think they have an official total.
Okay.
That was just a rough guess.
Okay,
when you
so
go on.
a rough guesstimation.
If I go, I mean, I just went on, VRBO and all those ones, but I didn't get time to there's lots of they advertise on all the platforms, so it's kind of hard to really break down.
But we'll go with that rough guesstimation of 600 houses, and you can throw in houses that aren't on any of them because they just get rented year after year privately. So we'll say we'll throw 300 or 700 houses out there total. That brings it in at about 30% of our housing stock is being used as businesses. Does that concern the board?
100%.
When you have other communities that they put caps on 5% in tourist towns?
I mean, part of the reason, before I ran or anything, or what I spoke about when it came to the short-term rental law, was I didn't feel like what we put in place was enough. And I felt like, but we needed to get the ball rolling on the whole thing in general. And what I talked about and got some momentum on it from other communities was zoning. And I think that's why Barb keeps harping on the zoning thing, is because we can't really put anything with zoning into place until our zoning is updated, as I understand it, right? So the zoning going into place is when you really crack down on how we've lost our neighborhoods and why we don't have homes, like we're all suggesting like we used to, like back in the day. Well, that's because of these short-term rentals. So hopefully that's the next step, is the zoning. And how that's determined will be based on the zoning map that we don't have yet,
Okay. Well, one of the things that I brought up to the board before was there are things in place right now that the town can do, and it's already going to New York Supreme Court. Okay, if you have individuals renting a house by the night, that is considered a hotel or motel, and New York State law, and our zoning, I should say, says you can't have a hotel or motel in a residential neighborhood. And when the committee was put together originally to create the zoning law, or the short-term rental law, our zoning officer had in there 7-day minimum. And that got pushed off to the side and kicked out the door. And where I'm going with this is you have all the people that are buying these properties up to run businesses. They're never living in them, they're running a business.
100%.
Well, if your business isn't profitable, then they're not going to want to be buying these houses anymore. So if you put a restriction on 7-day minimum, okay, and they only can rent it 7 days, well, now it's not profitable. So you're going to get the people that are buying up houses left and right to run a business, will take their money somewhere else.
There's been some other stuff going on, like I said, other communities that are relative to us, where they've done things like they put laws in place where, hey, if you're currently doing short-term rental and you're in this zone, then you cannot. You have 3 years, before you can, or change hands. It varies from community to community, where they set a time and say, in 3 years you're no longer gonna be able to do short-term rental, or if you sell the place, the short-term rental goes with the new owner, or
or change hands and things like that along those lines. Does that make you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Where they instead of just saying, "Hey, the zoning map just came out. You can no longer short-term rent." Is that really fair? So I think that's the compromise that other communities have used, where they've said like, "Hey, 3 years down the road, you can't do this anymore. So you either be a part of the community or utilize this place with you and your family, or you sell it to somebody who would, instead of just, hey, short-term rental laws in place, hit the road." So I think that's the compromise from what I understand is going around in other northern Adirondack communities like ours. So that will be hopefully coming here too, which will be hit with a lot of backlash, just like everything, and whatever. I'll take
your
it.
summer employees went.
What's that?
That's where half your summer employees went, because those families that used to spend or leave their kids up here to work all summer, don't exist anymore.
And
because they don't spend the whole summer.
After being up in Inlet, at Archie's up there, there's a ton of summer kids in the community up there, because I think their rental law has been in place for 20 years. So they've protected their community. They were proactive in doing that back then, and I think us not having that is why we don't really have this. I mean, I was a summer kid. I moved here when I was in '99 in ninth grade, but before that, I was a summer kid. I mean, a lot of people were in this area that's gone away. So yeah, but still, it doesn't change how often are we going to talk about how things were and what happened and what caused all this, right? We need to figure out what to do to fix it, and that's what I was talking about before, with kind of people coming together and these solutions and things that are being offered by ma'am here and sir in the front row.
My name's Erin.
Aaron, yeah. So Aaron and what's your name, sir? Chris. Aaron and Chris, like those things. Welcome, sure. Get them in an email. Put them in front of us, like Bonnie said. It's not like, I don't think we get elected and we just sit up here and say, "Hey,
all ideas.
We have the answers," and I wish it were that way, but this is a problem all over the country, housing, and looking at all possible solutions.
Housing and
workers.
workers.
Continue to do.
Get them a house and then they don't want to work.
I hope you continue to find a solution for the housing. For me personally, it took 5 months and an ad in the paper to find a house to move to be closer to life in the 80K. And then it was just a fluke that I found the Noonan house. And it's
I think
difficult.
if we had a more condensed study on what we need, we'd be better off than having a study that was market study so far out, and the IDA study that came in with a chart and a pie. It's not what I want. I want to know what Jenless at the motel needs. What does she need? Does she need full-time year-round? Or does she need a room for a J1 worker? Because I got a room for a J1 worker. But I don't know how to match that up. Because I don't know who needs what.
Your study would have to be done within the town of Webb.
Within the town of Webb and done by the town of Webb. Not by another entity. That's how I feel about it anyway. Yes, ma'am.
Just circling back, a couple of times you guys have talked about communication with the board. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote you guys all a letter, and for the life of me, I could not find an email address for any of you on the town website. Right. So that's why I wrote a letter and I printed it and I put it on all of your mailboxes. You don't. Your email addresses are not on the town website.
There's a hot button to send emails.
But that's just a one. Like if I wanted to send,
and that goes forwarded to all of them.
Oh, it does go to all of them.
It goes to me, and then it goes
so
out
if I
to
do
them.
the hot button, it goes to everybody.
It goes to me, and then it goes to them.
Okay, but that's not clear.
I think our cell phones are also listed on there too. That was something that back when the pandemic happened, we made sure that we had our information out there. But yeah, I mean,
We can it wasn't clear.
We can at least
I agree.
It wasn't clear to me, and that's why I literally wrote the letter. I printed it and I brought it here to everybody.
It looks antiquated, like there's a font, and some people.
That website's a little.
We can adjust that.
Yeah.
Well, I will warn you that I'm not real fast on emailing back. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
sitting
think it's
in
just looking at it. You know, you're just used to
when you
seeing
look at
that
the
on
website, it's like
Right.
I don't know how to email you guys, so like.
And I will say that emails are great. I mean, honestly, to have stuff in writing from people, it's a lot easier to process and remember all the details and stuff like that. So You know, when you get your caught walking around a corner or going different places, you get a lot of that. So, but when you have it in writing, and it sits in every single board member's, when that comes in like that, you know, we all get a copy in our mailboxes.
Okay, well, yeah, that's not clear on the website. But
Yeah, no, that's good point. So.
Maybe if I could make a suggestion at that point, I mean, I think that the usage of QR codes to link to things like that for the people that are around town and they may see or think of something, you know, that there's places that post, like, hey, if you want to get in touch with the town board, you whip out your phone. It makes it really easy.
Here.
And you know, I think it'll just help engage, you know, a lot of people, but especially you know a lot of younger people really use their phone a lot more than you know other people do. And I think that you know engagement and communication, I think, is one of the things that people talk about, and you know everybody wants to improve. So that could be a way.
100%. And the QR codes are great. I mean, I use them quite a bit, so they're.
There's a lot. There's
Okay.
a lot of updating we got to
Excuse
do.
me.
We just got to do some teaching.
What is a QR code, please?
It's the little red square things that look
Oh, you see on the TV, you watch.
Yes. You can get menus like that at restaurants.
Anybody else? Yes,
One
ma'am.
final thing, when we were talking about ANCA and the Center for Businesses in Transition, through a partnership with Living ADK, we actually have a local resident, Steve Shanley, who took the Center for Businesses in Transition training. So he is here in our community and is there for prospective buyers and prospective sellers to learn more about that process. So you don't have to call ANCA in Saranac. We've got someone right here in town.
Okay, perfect.
So we've got all the information in our office. You just gotta stop on by.
All right, thank you. Yes, Steve?
On the housing thing, I think everybody pretty much will agree to the main time we need housing for people is in summertime. College kids, et cetera, et cetera.
I wouldn't know the answer to that. I need a survey for that.
Okay.
I want a specific survey.
Yeah.
I can't answer that question.
Because
Do we need, yeah, we need a lot in the
say
summer.
the fall is when it gets the worst. You know,
Yes.
when you lose the college
Yeah.
kids, when you lose the internationals.
True
is when you need the
Fall, they leave in August.
August. Mid-August to Columbus Day.
We used to work right to Labor Day. They all gotta have 2 weeks off.
Yeah, it
Columbus
doesn't happen anymore.
goes 2 weeks after Columbus Day for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anybody objects to me emailing a survey out that asks these questions that have come up over the last
Yes,
3
I
weeks?
do. I want that email done by myself.
The email?
Yep, I want the survey done by this town board, not by any other entity.
Okay.
And I tried to do that and I got my hand slapped last week. I was told that I didn't have the authorization to do that. I didn't get permission from the board. But I can tell you what, I looked into that and I don't have to have permission from the board to do research or data for the town of Webb. So I really would like to get that going.
No, but you could help it.
And I'd like the board's help with that at some point. Do I have a motion to pay the audited claims?
I'll make a motion to pay the audited claims.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
You want to stay?
Second? All in favor?
Only 8 p.m. We're good.
I don't know.
It's 9.
I